city council meeting for Monday, January 13th, 2025. Call the meeting to order. If you all stand up and say the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Can I have roll call, please, Cheryl?
Bill Meyer.
Yes.
Matt Peterson.
Yes.
Adam Ryder.
Yes.
J.T. Thompson.
Yes.
Matt Jordan.
Yeah. Okay, number 4, approval of the agenda. Anybody have any questions with anything regarding that? If not, I will ask for a motion to approve as presented.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second? Second. And roll call, please.
Matt Jordan.
Yeah.
Adam Ryder.
Yes.
Bill Meyer.
Yes.
J.T. Thompson.
Yes.
Matt Peterson.
Yes.
Okay, number 5, we can skip. So number 6, the consent agenda. Again, any questions or comments with anything on there?
I got a couple. On P and Q, the sidewalk replacement program, the ones that are in here, the applications are from July and September 24. How does that work? I mean, I don't remember how the whole system works, but is it, can we go back that far, or did they apply and we didn't have the money, or?
I think the application was submitted and by the time the work was done and they came back with the paid invoices from Preston Ready Mix or wherever that cement was purchased from,
Yep.
then it got submitted to be.
Processed.
Yeah.
So, remind me on the program, we have a certain amount of money, right, that we put in each year, is that how it works? I don't remember exactly how.
We pay it out of road use, so we estimate that possibly up to 10 sidewalks, and our max contribution would be $1,250 per. So
Okay.
we kind of set the max at 10 at that amount, so we haven't really come close. The actual site amount of concrete, as opposed to the overall project is,
Could vary quite a bit.
yeah, it really varies, so.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine, I just wondered, because it went so far back last year, July last year, how it all worked. As long as the funds are every month, the program works.
Right.
That's great.
Right. Yeah, and as long as it's the ones, they're coming in and filling out a form, right, and applying for it,
Mhm.
yeah, okay. Yep.
Okay. Okay. And then, alcohol license, country store, any issues there, Chad? No. No. That's all I had.
Okay. Okay, do we have any other questions about anything else? If not, I will ask for a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second,
Second.
and roll call, please.
Matt Peterson.
Yes.
Bill Meyer.
Yes.
J.T. Thompson.
Yes.
Adam Ryder.
Yes.
Matt Jordan.
Yep. All right. Number 7, discuss and consider approval for sending out RFQs for grid resilience grant. Amanda is here tonight to kind of fill us in on the whole process, and I know you've been working with Cheryl quite a bit on the whole thing, and Ray too, so I guess if you want to take the floor and kind of just let us know kind of how we're sit and
Yeah.
take it from there.
So do you all know about what the grid resiliency grant is or does, or the goal of it? Do you have any, have you guys been given any information on it, or?
We talked about it, it's been a little bit, it's probably been a month or two now for sure.
But we kind of talked about it and where we kind of gave them some goals of what we'd like to
Mhm.
replace, but you can kind of maybe go into the grant part of it.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
So the Iowa Grid Resiliency Fund is through Iowa Economic Development Authority. It's a part of the bipartisan infrastructure money. So it's not ongoing funds. There was one round. There will be, I think, for sure another round, maybe 2 more rounds of money. And the goal of the money is to strengthen the electric grid in the community to either prevent or delay or reduce outage time. So whatever that looks like. I worked with Macocity Municipal last year to write their grant, and we were awarded the money. And for that, forgive me, I'm not super technical, so I knew what I was doing when I was typing the grant. Basically to connect their generators and substations to strengthen it, so then to support their industrial area a little bit stronger. So they were awarded. We haven't moved. They were awarded. We're still waiting on the final paperwork. Like it's the first time that IEDA has done this, so they're a little bit slower with the process. To me, I would compare it to a CDGB grant, in which I know Preston has received a CDGB grant in the past. So similar activity where you know, Davis-Bacon wages are required. Now we're required to track Build America, Buy America products. You know, ECIA would do the grant administration for it, so our admin would come out of the grant. Couple major differences. So with this grant, minimum award is 200,000, max is 2 million, and our admin money would come out of that. One major difference too between this and like CDGB is engineering costs can come out of this, where like CDGB, usually the project is way bigger than what the grant award would be. So the community's match goes towards engineering costs and construction and all those types of things. So where this, there's an opportunity, depending on the total project cost, that majority, if not all, can be covered. With that said, there is a match requirement, and that is roughly 33%. The calculation they use to figure that out is the state will contribute towards some of that. So I believe this round, it was roughly 20–25% that Macocity Municipal had to do for a match. So I think it depends on how much the state has to contribute towards that 33%. Will, you know, kind of fluctuate it a little bit. I mean, if you have a $2 million project, in which I'm finding electrical, anything is expensive, you know, and so in talking to Chris Krogman at Macocity Municipal, it was, if we're going to get this amount of money, we're gonna figure out a way to make it happen. And their grant award was over 700,000. So they're, you know, we're making it happen. It's not very often that you get a grant where you can cover most of the costs with it, including engineering fees. So with that, I've talked to Cheryl and Ray, and we have a project in mind that I did go back to IEDA and talk to them about, and they said they did fund a project similar to what we're looking at in Preston last year. One big thing that they're really honing in on is looking at the outage data. So how would this project either prevent outages or decrease the length of the outage in the future based on the data that we have? And so I know Cheryl said that they've been kind of getting some things together to collect that data. So that'll just make the application stronger. They want to see, because DOE really wants to see that they're going to be heavy on reporting with the outage data. So last year they funded 10 projects in the state of Iowa. Macocity Municipal was one of them. We haven't heard anything on the next round yet. Their goal was to have it out fall of 2024, that we haven't heard anything. There will be a webinar of some sort, and then time to write the grant and submit. What we learned last time around with Macocity was, I wish we would have had engineering up front. So tonight what we're kind of talking about is, what would it look like to put a, you know, if after discussion, after thought, thinking about this project, to at least put an RFQ out for the engineer, to kind of, so then we have an engineer pending approval of the project, and then we can then get some cost estimates. So what does that mean for you all as far as cost? There will be costs associated with putting in the paper for the RFQ. really, it's very minimal to do an RFQ to see what we would get back. But then possibly some upfront costs to then have the engineer do some preliminary work to get a cost estimate. I wish we would have had that a little bit stronger in the, and Chris Krogman, I'm sure, would talk to any one of you too, with Macocota Municipal, to let you know kind of what we did, what we didn't do, and that was one thing we both talked about. We wish we would have had the engineer up front. Because we did have some cost estimates, but where it gets a little dicey is when you're getting information from an engineer, because we have to procure the engineer. So we have to do an RFQ because it's federal money. So we wanted to make sure we didn't get too much information to disqualify that engineer from then being able to submit an RFQ when it came time to it. But it's worked out, and everything's good to go. So that's, Cheryl just asked me to come and kind of talk about the process. Like I said, we don't really know anything yet, but when you send an RFQ, put an RFQ out, 30 days, and then, what we would get back, giving the engineer a little bit of time to then see what we could come up with a cost estimate for the grant. Like I said, they don't have to have the preliminary engineering report or facilities report, anything completed, but just that the cost estimate, the budget is a big piece of the grant.
Okay. Give us kind of like a timeline as from what you know or can tell us, I guess, and maybe Macocota is a good example. Like, okay, you start the process. How long did it take for to get all the information back, and then actually submit the application, and then before you're rewarded and all that good stuff? So, if you can tell us anything on that.
The timeline for the last grant round was that there was a webinar December 18th of 2023, and then the application deadline was February 15th. I didn't get involved, I don't think I got involved until January. And that's when Chris reached out to us to see if we would be able to, and he was looking for a grant administrator. He thought he had a grant writer, but it's kind of one of those things for us. If we are going to administer the grant, we want to write it because we want to know what we're administering, type thing. So the deadline is February 15th. So I had about a month and a half to write the grant, which was totally fine that way. But like I said, we learned we needed some information.
Right.
And so he did a lot of work reaching out to some engineers to just get some rough cost estimates. Mhm.
Okay. And then when did so is it the same timeline for this round too? Is it February 15th again? No, it's different.
We don't know what the timeline is yet.
Okay.
So I do have, that's in 2 weeks, we do have a webinar with the program administrator with IDA, Jeff
Okay.
Geertz, for the current projects, to kind of lay out timeline for what the current grant will look like.
Gotcha.
And I'm hoping he'll give us some information. I've been emailing him here and there about, okay, so the next round,
Yeah.
this and that, and we just haven't heard anything
Okay.
yet.
Yeah, I'm just
Mhm.
curious.
But my thought was if we could, explore doing an RFQ, and then seeing what it would look like, to get an engineer, again, kind of just tentatively on board pending, grant approval.
Yeah.
So there would be some upfront costs from the community to get us to that point. But it's also one of those things where if it's a project that is important to the community and we know that, 5-10 years down the road, we need to look at it or take some more serious thought with it, then we might have a realistic budget for grants in the future too, if this one doesn't come to fruition.
Okay. So then the engineer that you work with, I mean, do they have a foot in the door as far as if we would get awarded, more than likely they would probably take the work then? Is
Right.
that typically how you
So
go?
so I'm working with another community who they have an RFQ out for the same thing, they're working on a project. They sent the RFQ out and the plan is, they'll select an engineer, maybe get some preliminary stuff going, so then we have a budget for when the grant is due.
Okay.
But again, I think in their contract, I think it's just going to be pending the grant happens.
Right, right.
Mhm.
Okay. Makes sense.
But like I said, their thought process is, this is something we want to seriously consider in the future, so it might not be a bad idea to see what it could possibly cost. The project in Macokota, we were kind of way off on the numbers. I think Chris was thinking it was going to be like 300,000 and it's like a 900,000, it's just shy of $1 million. Electrical engineers obviously know their stuff.
Yeah. And what do we have any idea ballpark range, what we're looking at? Do you have?
No, I
Okay.
mean, other than, that was just for a rebuild, like, basically what we're talking about is taking care of like that transfer, or the step-down transformer in the back by the light plant.
Right.
And then redoing that line going up to School Street, which I think was supposed to be underground at that time, back when we did the, upgrade to
Yeah.
4160. That, and then also probably some electrical or, for the tap changer out at the substation, so when I'm generating, going at, like, be able to change it back here, instead of me running out there, doing that, running back, making sure everything's okay, if not, then I gotta run back out there.
Right.
So
Make it
it's all that, and then some work on the panel for the old generator, possibly,
Okay.
getting that, cause there is some issues with that, just from with Steve Lang being here in the past, going over things. It's not that it don't work, it's just, it needs some upgrading.
That's what I'm thinking, what else can we piggyback onto this that all makes sense?
Well, there, I mean, it is kind of limited on what they really look at as really a necessity, you know, am I correct?
Right, yeah, I've reached out, so when we first became aware of this grant, I reached out to all of the small town municipals in our coverage area. And some had some really good ideas, but things like just undergrounding wires, it's not a strong application, you know, so we didn't really go that route. But there's, I mean, four pieces to the puzzle, so there's undergrounding wires and a new transformer.
Yeah, step down transformer,
That's the biggest thing.
Right.
and then actually having another one for backup if we can get one.
Mhm.
So we would have, they're probably outdated, but when do we get cost on those step-down transformers? That's probably been 5,
Well, that
6
was
years ago.
last summer or so, if not before, when I got just an estimate of.
Did you get them that soon? We had them a while ago too, I remember that.
Yeah, that was back for a, like I said, a rebuild.
Yeah.
They're suggesting, like, when I talked to Chris over in Macokota,
Mhm.
he kind of brought it up, he goes, don't go for a, getting a rebuild, or get a rebuilt one, get a new one.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Then you know what you got, and then maybe take the old one and then have that as a backup in case we have a rebuild, have it as a backup.
We
Yeah.
we didn't think we'd have any trouble coming up with about $1 million project.
It'd be-
It's all said and done.
Yeah, with
With
all the
engineering
costs.
and everything, it doesn't, it adds up.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think some of that stuff was supposed to be done back then, and then that, the situation there.
Yeah, when you talk about, keeping power in the city and stuff like that shut down, that's huge for us. That is what handicaps us.
Well, if something happens to that back there, then the city's screwed, basically, honestly.
We can't generate, we can't do anything.
Right,
Mhm.
so,
Well, and then too, I mean, I don't know what the goal plan is for 5, 10 years, 15, 20 years down the road, if Preston is looking at growing at all, or, what does that look like, adding businesses, adding more, can what we have sustain growth?
that was the other thing, is like this one back here now, that was just talking to Owen with Shermco back then, or, a while back. He said that one is not, if we ever decide to ever get another generator, we couldn't. If we needed to for more capacity, we couldn't do it with that one back here, so this is all goes together.
No, that's great. Yeah, that's a great way to put it towards the grant.
And it
Where are we
would-
gonna come up with a 33 or 25%? That's
Did you say
elephant in the
something
room.
that there was a revolving loan that
So,
potentially helped?
there is,
$250,000.
state revolving loan fund out right now, but unfortunately, we did check and we can't use that as match. Where, like, I know, like, water sewer projects, we can use that revolving loan fund as match, but in this, for the energy side of things, at this time, they said no.
So it's gonna be based off of what the amount is gonna be, correct?
Mhm.
Yeah, so-
Right.
So we don't even know, but still,
Right.
if you're, you gotta come up with something.
Like you said, I mean, the bigger the project, I mean, more grant money you give, the more money you got to
Bigger
come
the
up with.
project,
Yeah,
better
too.
the project, yeah, bigger, better, more money you gotta come up with.
Yep.
Well, I think it's something we should do and look into, we're gonna have to look, well, these ladies are gonna have to look into that.
But I think the question is if you wanna go ahead and do that and then spend the money, whatever it is, to go ahead and
I
start
think-
it.
Who would you call to engineer it? Shermco or?
So we have to put an RFQ out. So, yeah, we would have to procure it because they're federal funds. And what's, you know, the thing with an RFQ, they want you to make, you know, you'll need to make a decision based on qualifications, not cost. Which is, you know, with the RFQ, which is, you know, interesting, but, so you'll make the decision based on the qualifications, and then have that engineer do some preliminary work to get a budget. When we did the Macokota one, we sent it out to, I think, 6 or 8 electrical engineers in the area, and we received 3 or 4 proposals back. Shermco was one of them. They ended up going with DGR, which is on the western side of the state, I believe.
I mean, I think I think it's worth the initial investment to see what we got, right? You know,
Right.
And at least start the process, and then, you know, as we get further down the road, we can figure out the logistics, you know, as far as money-wise and things like that.
And I'm gonna agree with the engineering cost, because we have to do something over there. We've been putting it off too long. You know, we're taking samples, and our samples have been up, and they've come back, you know, so we have to do something anyway. We can't keep turning a blind eye, because it will bite us.
Right.
So, to go ahead and get the engineering, done, we're gonna have to do it someday anyway. So I think it's.
Cost us more.
It's not like it's just a wish listing for it, it's a necessity we have to do, so.
Yeah, otherwise, what was all the upgrading we did a handful of years, you know,
Yeah, again, our whole generation
right,
plan,
exactly.
you know, and being able to get our credits by being online and
Right.
and ready for all that. If we can't produce, because we can't get the power out, then
That was money for,
you know, it's zero again.
yeah.
And we can't use our generation to supply our own city or anything at that point. So it's well money spent, no matter what.
Yeah, anything you do electric is not gonna be cheap, that's
No.
just.
No,
The other thing too, so with Preston being a Keep Iowa Beautiful community, you get one no-cost grant a year. And I did check into it, and we would be able to use this as your no-cost grant for when we submit it. So that, I mean, right there is 2,000 to 2,500 savings too.
That's good.
yeah, it's good to know.
Yeah, I think we should move forward.
Yeah. Are you looking for, just kind of a blessing from council as far as to say, yes, we're on board with, you know?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
basically, if everybody's okay with it, what I can do is draft up an RFQ, what it could look like, you know, and send it to Cheryl, and,
Yeah.
you know, you guys can take a look at it and see, and kind of maybe come up with a date, and like I said, at this point, then it would just, the cost would just be posting it in the paper, or putting, I know, you can put it on the Iowa League website too. But then, also, we would send it out to the list of electrical engineers that we have as well, and then, just put a deadline of when it comes back, and, set up a time where we can take a look at you all can take a look at the proposals, we can take a look at them and kind of go through and maybe make a recommendation, you guys can take, whatever process. yeah, I mean, at this point, it would just be, like I said, whatever costs, posting it in the paper, and then, you know, our time just kind of working, looking at it and
Sure.
things.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, I'm in favor of that. I think, like I said, I think we should keep kind of moving forward with this and, you know, there's gonna be red tape with it because it's a federal grant. That's just how it works. But I think, like Matt said, I think it's good money invested, to at least start it and figure out what we got, what we might need, so. You guys thoughts on it from anybody else? What do you guys?
No, I agree, I think we should start to.
Yeah, we've been talking about it.
At least you'll have an idea if we don't get the grant, you're gonna know what possibly you're gonna.
Yeah, we're in for it. Yeah.
Well, and, you know, so I think initially the goal was to have 5 rounds of this available to the community. It didn't, I think the first year kind of got away from them, so then they combined 2 years into one, so they were able to fund 10 projects. This last round got away from them, and they had some transition in staff, so Jeff did tell me that this next round will be 2 pots of money again. So, you know, maybe 8 to 12 projects they might be able to fund, and then there should be another round that will be smaller. So if it doesn't happen the first round, you know, we can tweak and resubmit too.
Sure, sure. Yeah, that's a good point.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think we're all on board and, yeah, see what we come up with. and
Okay.
Go from there, so.
Okay,
Yep.
I will just get a draft proposal then ready and
Yeah.
send that to Cheryl, and
Yep,
whenever we get to go, then we can, like I said, I can send it out to the, electrical engineers we've sent it out to.
okay.
And then actually see where, I know the other community, they've been getting some proposals back, and I'll see if there's any new engineers that I can just add to my list too. Like I said, I mean, around 8 to 10 people would be able to send it out to off the bat, so.
Okay, perfect.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, that sounds good, yeah. Work with Cheryl on that. Will we have to approve that then at the next council meeting, do you think, or how?
We can put it on the agenda to, yeah,
Or if we don't need to, that's fine too.
Do we
I
need-
don't.
motion
So
and
this,
everything, or?
so this grant isn't as strict with those types of activities as CDGB is, so we don't have to,
Okay,
you know, submit anything showing approval or
Right.
anything like that.
okay, okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, I would say if everybody's on board with it, then, yeah, we can get it drawn up and I can get it signed or whatever. and,
Mhm.
Yeah, I can get it posted, so.
Okay,
Yep, that way we don't have to wait for 2 more weeks until.
Yep, I say, whenever you get it,
Yeah,
sign it.
get it moving, so.
okay.
So sometimes you have to pass resolutions to get approval and all that, but this is
Yeah.
not required.
No, they don't require any of that. I think, you know, if anything, there might just be a letter from council stating that there's support of the project, or, you know,
Yeah.
something giving it the go, you
Right,
know, that it's
right.
okay. But yeah, no, there's different requirements and less than what CDGB requires, so that's really nice.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's more money, so.
Yeah, even better. All right.
Okay.
Yep, sounds
Super.
good.
Awesome, well, thank you.
Yep, thanks Amanda.
Thank you.
Appreciate you
Have
coming
a
down.
good night.
Evening.
Talk to you soon,
Thank
stay
you.
warm.
Okay, let's jump down to, number 8. Discuss and consider approval of purchasing new blower for the lagoon. Again, I think this is kind of like the electric side. I don't know how much of a choice we have on this, but Cheryl, what do you?
Get it open here quick. Okay, Tim had, Engineered Equipment Solutions come take a look when one of the blowers went down out at the lagoon. And to get a new complete blower package, with the new motor, enclosures and the blower, total cost would be $25,410. Tim and I looked at the budget and felt that this was doable within our current budget, for this year. And there was another quote provided if we didn't want to go ahead and purchase complete new, we could do just the blower, but then kind of gotta take a look at it is 17 years old and it's likely to not last forever anyway, so, both Tim and the engineer's recommendation would be to purchase new, if possible, so.
What's the blower do? What do the blowers do?
Aerate sending air through out there to aerate the,
How many of them are there?
3, I think, out there.
Mhm.
There's 3, not think there is.
Yeah. I just didn't know what they did. But the enclosure and everything, I mean, to go with a $15,000 for just the blower, the enclosure and everything is not good on the old one, it's just better not to go with it.
That I can't answer that.
Yeah.
Is that right? Different 25,000, 15,000?
15,535, something like that, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm taking Tim's recommendations too, obviously, I'm just asking, just curious because.
Well, the 15,535 is, because there's 2 options on the second quote. One is to just do the, new Omega block, blower, and then it costs $1,500 to remove it. So that's just the blower itself. And then there's option 2, which is estimated rehab of the one we have.
Oh, it's 2 separate things, that's
It's
just.
2 separate
Okay,
things.
That's why there's no total.
Yeah,
I
there's
got
no
it,
total.
okay.
So,
So we're talking a difference of 25,000 with basically the squirrel fan
Everything.
box, the blower, the whole thing, versus just the fan for $9,000.
So basically, the difference is mainly the engine part of it. Going with all new as
Well,
opposed.
the blower would be the main part, right? It'd just be the cage around it then would be the extra money? Is that?
You'd have to
is
have
that
an
right?
engine, you have to have an engine to start the blower. It has to be, it's part of,
The blower motor,
Motor,
new motor.
enclosure.
No, it says new enclosure.
So we're getting a new, so we're using the old, we're not, okay, the other one is just the blower, then no, the motors. Everything else is 17 years old is what you're saying?
yeah.
Once you get the blower, you're not getting the motor or the enclosure.
Yeah.
If you get a complete package, it
I don't know how many
includes the
horsepower motor that is.
They're pretty good size, man.
enclosure.
I don't know what
Can't
the,
be that big.
what the horsepower is, but they're pretty good size motors out there.
What, you know what it is? Like a 30 horse or is it?
Well, I'm assuming it's probably that, because it takes a lot to build up the pressure to keep it,
Some
keep
line-
pressure on the
long
lines out
hoses.
there. I mean, it runs constantly, so.
Yeah.
And I know he if I'm correct, he switches them off, from one to the other,
Oh, let's say
They're not all running all the
They're not
time.
all running at the same time. You
That's
got-
how we can get by while we're down right now. You're rotating 2 instead of 3 then?
Yeah.
Okay.
The third one out there is for the new system, if I'm correct.
We only had 2 until we put the new system in.
Yeah, then we had to add that third one for the new system, then you had the 2 before that you would just rotate running.
Tim said there's enough in there to do the complete,
Yeah. we
project for
build it wise.
25,410.
I didn't put that copy of the budget in there, but on the revenue and expense report, what we have left and what we budgeted for.
Well, that's not even the whole cost, you still gotta put freight and spare parts, right? Up down here.
Yeah, for it to be
Yeah.
added.
So it's gonna be more than whatever the freight would be. That's same as the next one down though, too. I'm assuming they don't know what that cost.
How old's the one that went down?
17.
17.
All of the other 2, or the other one?
So there's 2 of them out there, they're the same age. And the new one was just a couple years ago, whatever it was, when we did the updating out there in the lagoon.
I think there's money in the budget, we do put the new one in, that's my suggestion.
out there.
Then you're gonna have someone fathom.
Just thinking the other one's right behind it, probably.
Yeah.
You Band-Aid this one, and then that one goes down, and then you're gonna Band-Aid that one, or you're gonna go new there, well, then if you're gonna go new there, you should not do the first time.
Cause we had budgeted in sewer capital expenditures of 20,000 and we haven't touched that and they, so that along with some of the operation and materials that we're only halfway through our budget on that, so we should be able to.
And Tim's recommendation is a new one. I think maybe, it'd be nice though, maybe on this kind of money, if we could have that superintendent, that manager here for that kind of stuff, to answer those questions. You know, so if Tim could be here, it would really help us out to walk us through it in the future. That's a lot of money to not have all the answers, you know. But if that's Tim's recommendation, you know, it's what it is.
But I agree, we're gonna,
Yeah. we're
it's
gonna-
pretty big money, and nice to get a question.
Have him here to walk us through it.
Okay. And we can table it till next time and have him come if you have any continued more questions. I think it'll last a couple more weeks, if not.
I was gonna say, how long have we been running?
It went down probably 2-3 weeks ago.
It's gotta be pushing very close to a month.
Yeah, because we haven't met for over a month, so.
Yeah.
That's up for bail. I don't wanna hold it up. but-
I don't know if Tim coming here is gonna change my mind.
Right.
You know, if we need it, but it'd be nice to be educated on it.
Yeah,
Why we're
yeah,
spending money.
in the future.
I think.
I agree.
Or at least call contact the people on the committee, I guess,
Yeah.
if you can't make the meeting, and kind of
Yeah.
explain what's going on.
Well, yeah, Ray was good about, Ray's always good about doing that kind of stuff, contacting us and telling us what's going on, so yeah, I agree with that.
Either come to the meeting or call the people on the committee.
Yep, so somebody else can speak in the behalf.
I'll make sure to tell him that.
Okay, what do we need to do?
Okay, so is everybody good with, is everybody kind of on the same boat as far as just fighting the bullet and going, getting the one being done with it?
Yeah.
Why don't I get a motion just so I can have that as documentation?
Yeah, yep.
Make a motion to approve the purchase of the blower food.
I'll second.
Roll call please.
Adam Ryder,
Yes.
J.T. Thompson,
Yes.
Matt Peterson.
Yes.
Matt Charity.
Yes.
Bill Nye.
Yes.
Okay, number 9, resolution 2024-16, approval of signing committees for 2025. I'm thinking if everybody's good, nobody's really said anything to me as far as wanting to switch. I guess if you are, speak now or forever hold your peace.
So do we have a choice?
Do we have a choice?
No, you don't have a choice.
All right.
Yeah, no, I mean, if anybody wants to move, doesn't feel like they're qualified on a certain committee, I guess, speak up, but otherwise, I think everything went well last year, in my opinion, so I'm just assuming to keep everybody the same. Ain't broke, don't fix it. There you go. Okay. Do you wanna make a motion for that? Okay, so make a motion, please, for that.
Make a motion to approve resolution 2024-16, assigning committees for 2025.
Second. And roll call, please.
Bill Meyer,
Yes.
Matt Charity.
Yep.
Matt Peterson.
Yes.
Adam Ryder.
Yes.
J.T. Adam, did you second that?
Matt Peterson seconded.
Yeah. Okay, number 10, approval of using WPPI funds to donate to the Easton Valley Booster Cake Auction, which is the 21st. We do it every year.
Yeah, we received a letter this year requesting, and like last year, we did give $50 towards the cake out of the WPPI contributions. I did add into your packet that our contributions have increased quite a bit from what we, the WPPI executive board passed that, customer service and branding, was up to 5,500 this year from 3,411 last year. community contributions increased $1,000 to $2,500. Economic development, increased to $2,000 up from $1,000. And our scholarship fund increased to $3,500, which it was $2,000. The community contributions is where this, part of the funds we get from them would be where this type of, would come out of the community part of it, so.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, so we got an extra like $6,600 from them to share.
Yeah. Is 50 still good, you think? Is it pretty?
I didn't call any bakeries or anything, but,
Okay.
I mean,
Same if we needed to go to 75, I don't know.
when Dillabutt does those cakes for these auction, do they?
Yeah, a little bit more money, go maybe another 25 dollars.
Not too sad. Yeah, I'm not opposed to that.
50 would get a nice cake, according to the
I don't know.
assistant chef over there.
Delivery. Delivery fee, right? Yeah, if $50 is enough, I'm fine with keeping it at that, or like I said, if we need to bump it up a little bit more, that's not an issue too, so. Whatever works. Okay, do we need a motion on that? Okay, will somebody make a motion on that, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the use of WPPI funds to donate to the Easton Valley Boosters Cake Auction.
Second,
Second.
and roll call, please.
Adam Ryder,
Yes.
Matt Jargy,
Yes.
J.T. Thompson,
Yes.
Matt Peterson,
Yes.
Dylan Meyer.
Yes.
Get over there and bid out some cakes Tuesday night. Okay, number 11, approval of providing, street sweeping in May, for Goose Lake. Sounds like they reached out to us. Cheryl, you can kind of fill everybody in on what they're looking for, I guess.
Yeah, they reached out to us, about a month ago and asked if we would consider providing that service. And I told, we currently do it for miles and we contract out per hour at $110. Since we never had done a, agreement for services of that prior to, and so I threw it past Norm just to make sure, there'd be no liability issues or, okay, just to protect. So he did recommend we, did come up with some kind of an agreement that both parties would sign, just lays out the different, costs and liabilities and, things like that. And the clerk over there has recently changed, and I sent her a copy of this draft agreement too, and told her we'd be considering it at this meeting, so if everybody's okay with the agreement as is and the, being able to provide services, that's what we're looking for tonight.
Do they have any, is there curb and gutter over there, or is it just, it's not, is it?
There's,
Is there
some is,
Is there some?
I think on the main, part of the main, I guess. It's
I
probably,
know for like
it'll
the
be,
bank is, like there's some.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like the
It's-
main
it's-
dress
it's,
is.
it's about like doing miles, it's very limited.
I feel like across from the gas station is to maybe get to the corner. But I feel like them two streets that head east aren't. Would that include running on 136? I don't think that is.
No,
I doubt it.
Yeah. So there's only three streets.
Yeah.
it'd take longer to
Four
drive over there
days.
and back.
That's just cleaning up after the winter, I assume is what they're after, right?
Yeah, just maybe once, possibly twice a year, just to, as needed or whatever.
I'm good with it,
Yeah,
I'm very good with
absolutely.
mine. We got it. I'm
Yeah, it
assuming-
doesn't sound like it amounts to much.
I was gonna say, it's not like it's gonna take that much wear and tear in the, maybe do all the tires to get it over there.
But it shouldn't take long to do it over there.
No, exactly.
And I see it includes from time we leave till time we get back, so we get paid for
Right.
travel, which is what
Yeah.
we wanna do, so.
Yeah, I guess as long as we're just sticking to the curb and gutter spots and we're not, something with this, like, for miles then too, do you think? or-
Yeah, when we approach it in
Yeah.
the spring or whatever, I'll send
think
it
it's
along to them
Yeah.
as well and
Okay.
be consistent that way.
Yep, perfect.
I think they usually have us come over like maybe a week or so before like the parade over the Thrasher.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Makes sense.
Yep, yep. Yeah, no, we can be neighborly, I'm good with that. Okay, so we wanna make a motion on that?
Make a motion to approve the providing street sweeping in May for Goose Lake.
Second? Second, and roll call please.
Matt Peterson?
Yes.
Matt Jardy?
Yeah.
Dylan Meyer?
Yep.
J.T. Thompson?
Yes.
Adam Ryder?
Yes.
Okay, number 12, discuss and consider approval on the reselling of lot by property owner on West Street. I don't know how much we're gonna get into this, right now. We're still we're kind of looking for a little bit of, documentation on our end, as far as what we can and cannot do, with this. I guess Cheryl, fill us in a little bit on what we got going on here and
Property owner that purchased the lot on Northwest Street, no longer needs it or intends on building a house there. So the adjacent property owner to the east came in and, said he'd like to buy it, but he really didn't have any intentions on putting a house there. He'd want to use it as an access to his existing business. So, once we get the, I reached out to the city attorney and seen what we had to stand on, and we did have a purchase agreement in place, or drafted. And we will see what, that kind of states what our intentions were when we did sell the lot as a residential, for the purpose of a residential dwelling, so.
Yeah.
We're just still kind of looking for, that from them, and I think we should wait and see what that comes back and, before we make any final decision, so.
Yeah, I agree, because that's, residential lot, if it's a street, you're not getting any utilities or tax revenue from it like we like, that's not the intentions of it, so.
Yeah, I'd rather see it stay a residential lot.
100%, that's what we need. We, money we paid to buy that land and to not get any
Right.
utilities and stuff out of it, it's not work.
Already got the electric there.
Yeah, we still, they're not gonna use the electric on it.
No, but I'm saying that when the other house was built, I put electric there so we could just go right off of that.
Oh.
It's already there for the next builder, it's
Yeah.
done.
Yeah. But we want gas and garbage and everything else off of it, so.
Well,
That's
just
not
build
the-
out, have another place for someone to build,
Right.
just grow a town.
Correct.
So I guess the issue is, we signed into a contract with, I guess, I didn't see who, Christensen, right?
Yep.
We signed into a contract with them, but we can't really tell them if they can sell it or not, right? Like, to resell, that's the problem, like, does it transfer the contract or however that?
That's what we're trying to determine.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Should transfer anything else does, you can't go up to the other subdivisions and do it, I mean, we should have our,
Gotcha.
everything in the same place there, you can't buy a
Yeah.
lot up there
Yeah.
and resell it.
That's
I see.
that's the holdup. The contract would basically follow the new owner.
Gotcha,
So
okay.
that's, yeah,
And
that's.
the new owner or the purchaser wants to make it a driveway of some sort?
Right.
Essentially.
Or an access point, okay, got it.
Yeah, yeah. So, until we figure out exactly what kind of, leg we can stand on, we'll probably just table it for now. But we wanted to keep it on there, just in case we knew for tonight and could discuss and, give a definite direction on which way we were wanting, that to go, so, yeah.
Back to Ray's comments, we've already got cost in the electric for that lot then too, into that,
Well,
some,
some.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no ROI on if we allow it to be an access road.
Right.
And
That's
hopefully-
not what the neighbors, when they bought the land around it, either planned on.
Yeah, that too, and hopefully, you know,
One, I know we've talked before, you know, just about the availability of land long-term, you
Yeah.
know, you're basically consuming a lot for an access point, you know, where there's already one there.
Is that big lot commercial that he'd be trying to get to, or is that?
yes,
Yeah.
yes, that's,
Okay.
yep, that's his behind it.
I see.
There's a field back there.
Yeah, it's not like, not like we're landlocked, and he can still get to it from his property.
Right.
So it's not like
Yeah.
we're keeping him off his property by doing that.
Right.
I see.
Right. Yeah. Yep, so we'll table this for now, and then, bring it back up next council meeting, hopefully we have enough, some more clarification on what we got going on, so. Okay, that said, we'll jump down to, 13, goal setting summary of responses. I think this was a good practice for us, to go through, and kind of gets everybody thinking and, looking forward, and also kind of gets everybody hopefully kind of on the same page too, or gets at least ideas out there for everybody to kind of think about and put their heads together and try to come up with, you know, whether we come up with a top 5 or top 10 or however we, you know, decide to break it down. And I think it was a good thing to work on. And so thank you, all of you, for doing that, and the guys and the ladies, for doing that. I think it's a good thing for us, and hopefully we can do it every year, and hopefully we can, you know, go through it every year and cross some stuff off. So I guess, I don't, Sheriff, if you wanna kinda go through, or if we wanna, I don't know how much time we wanna spend on this tonight. We'll probably more so, dive into it a little bit deeper come,
The
start
budget
doing
season,
budget time.
budget season is here, but
Yeah,
budget workshops.
right.
There were a few more added that I didn't get into the packet. I got some more from, Tim today, so. Yeah, I guess it's just the next step on how to, what's our next step? How do we wanna proceed, or, but we can, you know, we can do that also at budget and, you know, pick the things out we can wanna tackle this year on budget, and pick maybe top 5 on realistic goals for the future.
Yeah, that's how I was looking at the list, I mean, some of those, even if they only got one vote, I can kind of see them as low-hanging fruit, you know, like the PD informational website.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
it seems
kinda-
like something you can knock out relatively inexpensively.
When Tyler submitted his, he had split out between short-term and long-term, which I liked that idea, so more of the short-term, or pick out a couple, 3 that we can budget
Yeah.
for this year and nip those off, and
I'm guessing that's for like the,
All the goals, oh, gotcha.
I'm guessing. What was that?
Oh, just the pads on the master.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, when those hoops were new, put in new down there, they came with pads and they just get weathered and they turn to junk, so there's nothing on them now, so that's.
Yeah, so some of the stuff, maybe we can just,
Yeah, some of it's easy,
Yeah,
like
that's
Adam said, some of it's low hanging fruit,
Right.
but just, you know, but.
yeah, we do have to remember that a lot of these things are also general fund
Yeah,
dollars, and how far that all goes is the next problem, so.
right.
It's just that the money's gotta be there to support.
Right,
Yeah.
that's what I'm thinking, you maybe start with those low-hanging fruit ones that
Yeah.
are inexpensive. and
You know,
knock
figure out what a
off-
couple of the big ones are and then see how much room we got left, and
Yeah.
then just knock out a bunch of the small ones too, as many as you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it too, you know, and I know with Amanda being here tonight, I know, you know, she's kind of our gal, you know, to help us, with grants and stuff like that. So, you know, I don't think it would be a bad thing, you know, to sit down, at a meeting and prioritize, you know, top 5 short-term, top 5 long-term, and then, you know, send them to her, so she has an idea kind of what we're thinking, you know, and she can keep an eye out for us on, you know, the potential grants that are out there to help us, you know, do some of this, some of this stuff isn't feasible on our own, you know what I mean? Unless we wait another 15 years, you know, to build our funds back up, something like that, you know? So we might have to be creative on some of this stuff too, and look for help, that's out there, so. But yeah, I think, like I said, I think it was a good practice to go through and.
She does periodically ask if we have any projects or anything, you know, they're constantly on the lookout for them, so I will forward this on to her and just say, this is kind of our tentative goals that from the session we had, and things, if she
Yeah.
can keep in mind
Yep.
for us, that'd be
Yep.
great.
Absolutely. So, okay, does anybody have anything to add on that? Okay. Thanks again, everybody, for doing that, doing a little homework for me, I appreciate it. Okay, 14, Iowa DOT notification of project, on Highway 64 west of Preston. Cheryl, sounds
We
like.
received a letter from the DOT, mainly just because the grubbing and cleaning of the ditches on Highway 64 is gonna eventually come into city limits. They just asked to appreciate the project being included on our meeting, as a matter of information, so you guys are aware of it. And, if we have any concerns or whatever, and so I didn't see any problem or any questions I would have for them. They're just going to continue and come into city limits, and I don't think they'll disrupt anything, so. They sent me a map of the location of the project, and just formality, they wanted to be transparent, let us know that they did make us aware of the project, and
That's great. That sounds good. Okay, I don't think we need any other discussion on that. Unless anybody has any questions, that's pretty self-explanatory. 15, resolution 2024-17, consider approval setting mileage rate for 2025. Sounds like this has changed a little bit, right, Cheryl? Nothing drastic.
yeah, we had always had that we follow the maximum for, what the IRS puts out. And there was a 3-cent increase in mileage reimbursement from 67 cents to 70 cents. So just so if the auditors look and ask, you know, where'd you come up with that, we pass the resolution, that way we know, they know that it was approved to increase it, not just, oh, that's what we always do, you know, kind of thing. So, yeah, I just went ahead and drafted the resolution, just formality.
I think that's standard practice pretty much everywhere that reimburses for mileage.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, somebody want to make a motion for that, please?
Make a motion to pass resolution, 2024-17.
Okay, second. Roll call, please.
Dillmeyer.
Yes.
Adam Ryder.
Yes.
J.T. Thompson.
Yes.
Nash Reddy.
Yep.
Matt Peters.
Yes.
Okay. All right, other business, Chad, I'm gonna kind of put you on the spot here for a second, I'm sorry. Talking about the DOT thing, have you heard any more about the speed signs?
I wrote that down too. Those speed signs.
Yeah, I don't know. I've emailed the guy and I haven't heard back.
Okay, that's fine.
I don't know if they're playing the spring now or what.
Yeah, okay, and that's fine, I just, like I said, talk about that DOT thing.
Yeah,
I just had to think about that, so.
hurry up and wait, I guess.
Yep, yep, okay. Okay, 2015 Ford, squad car update. We probably don't need to go into a ton of detail. Chad can kind of, update this a little bit. Sounds like they're having issues with it. We are gonna have a police committee meeting after, the meeting tonight to start discussing, steps, how we want to proceed with this, basically. But I wanted to put it on there, so we kind of keep everybody included on what's going on, and I guess, Chad, if you want to add anything?
Yeah, just, there's an exhaust
So we'll talk about it tonight at the committee meeting, and then we'll either, give Chad to go ahead, or how we wanna deal with it. Just one of them things, so. Okay. Let's jump to two, phone stipend for city employees. Cheryl, you wanna kind of touch on this a little bit?
There was a phone that was damaged recently of one of the city employees when they were working on a project, and all the city guys use their own personal phones, you know, and the more and more people just use those to contact them, so instead of carrying two phones, they don't really want to have two phones, but, I reached out to other towns and asked what other cities do for stipends, and I got several responses, and they range anywhere from like $20 a month for full-time employees up to 40. Some people do provide phones to them, but like I said, nobody wants to carry two, and, you know, just like, I don't know. We purchase phones for the police department, and we purchase phones for the fire department, and we pay their cell bills, so the city guys just do it all on their own with their own phones, so just wanted to know if you'd consider possible adding a stipend that would be paid to them through payroll. Just brought it up for consideration.
Is there an amount that you would suggest, I mean, kind of as a starting point that you would think, as far as what you think would be reasonable?
I would probably say $25, $30, I don't know. Didn't have to be a lot, just, you know, kind of, even if it just pays for an insurance policy on their phones, you know, for the year or whatever too, it would at least help to prevent damages.
Yeah, that's what I think on, like on my newer phone, I wanna say the insurance on it's usually, probably about $20-25 a month.
And I don't have anything formally to pass, I would draft a resolution if you decide, and we just lay that out then, but, just to see if it's something you wanna consider, if you wanna table, talk about, doesn't matter.
Yeah, so we provide right now, phones and plans for, police chief and fire department, chief. I think that's probably a little bit different, and JT, maybe can fill us in on that, as far as on the police end, or Chad too, probably with using a separate phone, your personal phone, in case, you know, something happens and you gotta,
Well, it can
get
become
subpoenaed or something.
evidence,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
I guess just speaking from my own personal, perspective, I have a work phone. I was given the option myself, either stipend or carry a second phone, so, I don't know, I'm on the fence with it. I could probably go either way. I don't feel strongly one way or the other, to be honest with you. I think it would be a nice perk, to do for the guys. On the other hand too, it's, you know, I don't know, like I said, I can go both ways with it.
A big plan, like if you got work phones for everybody instead of a stipend, would be well over that, or if you had to keep radios up to date, would probably cost more than that, would assume. Somebody has one get ruined on the job,
Yeah.
Yeah.
get drowned in a water hole or whatever.
And
Run over by a
I
skid
feel when
loader.
that happens,
Yeah.
but I'll be the devil's advocate. You know, when I sit here, you always have to feel, you know, to justify the citizens in Preston, you know, and I don't know how many, but you think of the people, I know my wife, you know, uses her own phone a lot. It doesn't cost her any more to have to use her phone, not if you damage it, I get it, you know. But, you know, how many people in our community have, use their own phones for work, and not get anything for it? Probably a lot, you know. Is it a nice perk? Yeah, it's great, but it adds up quite a bit, you know, if you figure $30 times 4 times 12 is what? 1,200, 1,500 bucks? You know, so I get it, and I feel, you know, but, again, I think we do great things for our employees, we wanna continue to do great things for our employees, but I have a hard time justifying, doing that, I guess with a lot of people in the community, I don't get that opportunity, you know? What's Macocota do, JT? What do they do?
The police department, all the officers get a cell phone, and that's to use for work. Some of it's, we have to use it to sign in our computers for, calling people, so. I think police department, fire department's a little different maybe. The street department up there, the only person that gets a cell phone is the actual, I guess, the head director of the, he gets one. The rest of the employees just use their cell phones like they do here, their personal phones.
Yeah, I think Macoka's on the list, they did not, pay us different for it.
Yeah.
Are they still rocking radios yet? For most
They have
of the-
radios in the, like, trucks, but they use their.
We don't have radios in our trucks, do we?
Do you have handhelds anymore?
No.
Don't have anything?
They're done for.
Yeah. And I get it, I mean, you know, I don't think it costs anybody any more on their plans, but I mean, you can have accidents and stuff, I get it, but I don't know, I have a hard time justifying that one, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I see your point, but also, I mean, just the nature of what they do, I mean, I think there's probably an increased chance of damaging it, you know, versus like if you work in, say, an office or.
Oh, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can understand that, but.
And I call the city workers on their personal phones.
Oh, I think we all do.
And stuff.
Yeah.
How's the on-call stuff?
That all goes to our personal phones.
Personal phone. So that's how they do it in Macocota. They have a work phone, but everyone just forwards the work phone to their phone, so they don't have to carry it.
We have a list over there who's on call for the month, so then they goes,
So dispatch just calls directly.
calls that person.
Yeah, I'm on the fence with it too. There's a lot of perks. I was surprised the city of Macocota did pay for cell phones.
Well,
I was,
you wouldn't even have, I'm just throwing this out there, even if it wasn't even a monthly thing, just like $100 or something like that, or whatever, you know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying, I'm having a hard time.
Not that, so it doesn't build up so much.
Yeah, I mean, everybody uses their phones, that's just what you do, and I mean, it's
Yeah.
not just, we ask people in Preston how many people use their phones for work, I bet you'd be surprised, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And I doubt many people are getting that, money back on it, so.
they're using it for convenience.
You're using it for convenience, and that's where it's all gone to,
Yeah.
you know, I can.
Well, it's just that
Experience
that
on
happened
people
to me,
I
and
work
I
with.
just brought it up, just.
No, I think it's, you never know if you don't bring it up.
Yeah.
I'm all for talk, that's what we need to do, have these conversations, I think, but I'm just not in favor of it this time. I think we, not many times we say no, I think we do a good job of making sure, you know, we try to give as much as we can when it's insurance and benefits and wages, and, I mean, I'm just one person, but that's just how it is as of now.
Dylan or Matt, G,
I mean, personally, I think, I mean, I'm for it, you know, mine, where, you know, my place of work, I had the option of carrying 2 phones, or they just pay for mine, I just carry one phone, I think it's, you know, I think we've had conversations in the past where, like, sometimes we think we struggle to, you know, offer competitive pay, and I think this is a nice little perk, like I said, I don't know that it has to be $30 a month for everybody or something, but, you know, we can figure out what a dollar amount that does work, and I mean, I think it'd be a great perk to add to it, so, just my thoughts.
Matt, you got any?
Opinion on it? I think something. Something's better than nothing. I think we've had a couple instances where maybe when we're doing emergency fixes or whatever, it slips out of your pocket, it gets ran over, and then we're putting it on them to replace their own phone, which is,
Accidents happen, I understand that, but.
I mean, I lost my phone
fire station out of the truck crawling in and drove over it and didn't even realize it. The fire department didn't pay for it or help out with it, but we were responding to a call and it slipped out of my pocket and we ran over it, so. Something I had to eat, but a little different, full-time employee either, so.
Yeah, like I said, cost me $1,000, but I learned my lesson.
Yeah.
Insurance on it or what?
Yeah, I don't know what insurance is, what, $20 a month?
That's kind of what I'm thinking, is like if we give something, you know, maybe looking at the cost, the average cost of insurance on a newer phone, you know, something that way. You could put it
Or
towards.
if you had to buy a new one, right, they always put it on a payment plan, because you never buy them
Right.
outright, it's $20, $25 a month, I think.
Right.
That's just my opinion. Fine if going to a vote or however you guys want.
It's not like we can't even vote on it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just discussions. Yeah, I think, you know, if enough people want to do it, maybe we put it on the next agenda and make a decision on it and vote on it and go from there. By the way, Ray, handle it, so.
Put on the agenda, and we'll have, have more discussion and vote it in or vote it out.
Yep. All right, sounds
Put
good.
together some options for resolutions and we decide to, or.
Yeah, I would say a couple different options probably would be good, 2 or 3 different options. Okay. Number 3, review of annual examination and findings. Everybody's seen that in there. And they got, everybody's getting a book with it too.
Yeah, everybody's got an annual examination report, from O'Connor Brooks, and I just put together, if you look in the back, maybe 2 to 3 pages of it, it, details out the, findings. And I went through the findings and typed up an explanation or a response to what, we to do to improve. Those are outlined as far as segregation of duties, that one's always on every review. We always, note it just to continue our efforts on making sure not the same person is, doing all aspects of every, you know, all the, like, you know, yeah, just try to share it so there's just not one set of eyes on all the books and everything. And there was a document, a reimbursement made, and there was one receipt they found that wasn't, received that should have, so we just gotta make sure that all departments know that, when they submit for reimbursement, what can and cannot be reimbursed, and you better have a copy of your receipt or you're not gonna get paid. There was one that we suggested to reach out to the city attorney because we purchased, it's between city officials. We bought the Toro lawnmower from Matt, and there was not any documentation that we had gone out for bids on that. And since it was over $6,000, since he's an elected official, we could still purchase it, but we needed to go out for bids. And there was no documentation in the minutes or anything that bids were received, so that's why we got wrote up. And, I included Steve at Lynch Dallas's response to that. He was,
I thought from that we bought one from every place and like he was next in line.
yeah, I don't remember.
We had bids from Badrix and Kunos.
Yeah, I thought.
Yeah, there
We
was,
bought the other last ones from them, so it was like.
yeah, we had bid out on this one too.
Yeah, I'm sure we probably did, like I said, there's no documentation that they could find, so I think
So
we got.
from their
enough
perspective,
of it.
we did.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, run the funeral, for sure.
Yeah, whatever. They gotta find
Well-
something.
Learning lesson.
there were some budget, that were exceeded, that weren't amended for. I felt that it was a clerical error, because sometimes if you don't get it in our system, those reports don't reflect what's on the actual budget. But there were a couple things that we should have, amended for, so. And apparently TIF, we're supposed to, if we didn't, there was a balance in our TIF account, and if we don't use it in that year, we're supposed to send it back. I know we reached out to Shelley at the auditor's office, and they don't want it back, and Kelly, Brown said we were gonna be 100% okay, because, we do, and the balance is applied from what we need for the next year, so she felt that that was good enough response, and that we know the rules, and it will be spent, and we used it up this year, so. They wanted to add a checklist on the bank rec, so we've incorporated that, part of the bank rec that lists all the checks and who they're to and what they're for. And there's a couple outstanding checks, a few outstanding checks that haven't been cashed, and basically they're unclaimed, so we either need to figure out how to reissue them or, send them to the Great Iowa Treasure Hunt, as just Iowa law says that you have to do that every year. Basically, that was a summary of the findings, and, like I said, y'all have a copy of that report. If you have any questions, please all continue to do better every year. There's always a couple things they find that stand out there, and,
Yep, doing a job.
you know, keep us on our toes, I guess.
Okay. Okay, number 4, budget update, evaluations, timeline, special report.
I didn't have, I was hoping to get, a little more information for at least the valuations and things in the packet, but I didn't have time to, we just got them like last week, so I didn't get a whole lot of information included in the packet. But I would like to, for the next meeting, schedule a budget workshop to review those and possibly take a look at all the general fund, budgets, so we can figure out what our tax valuations are gonna be, and what we wanna assess, and what we can levy for and what we can't, that kind of thing, so. We'll just have to wait on that one. If everybody's okay with putting a budget workshop during the next meeting.
Yep. We can do that. Okay, everybody good with that? Okay. Number 5, ordinance enforcement, and procedures. Chad, you got much on that?
Nothing right now.
Okay, that's fine.
One thing, kind of on the topic of derelict buildings I want to add, I was walking yesterday, and that building north of Gary Schmidt's house, if you go by it, we're gonna have some windy days coming up, so if you go by, I mean, there's sheets of steel on the roof that are just banging like loud, so I mean, super noisy first of all for the neighbors, and eventually, I mean, there's sheets on the ground that have already come off, so I think something absolutely has to be done with that, because, you know, at some point, it's working its way closer to the street, so I'm just afraid you're gonna have a kid going to school or somebody walking by, and it's gonna fly off at the wrong time, and that could get ugly.
Sure.
But it's only a matter of time before that just blows off. I think honestly, that looks like that whole side of the roof is just gonna blow off eventually.
Yeah, there's been a neighborhood complaint about that too, so.
Yeah, I did have somebody, one of the people in that neighborhood mention that to me too, that just the noise of it, and I experienced it firsthand yesterday, I'm like, yeah, that would drive me nuts.
Yeah.
Very legitimate complaint.
Yeah, we need to.
Sounds bang on the floor, that was money.
Yeah.
Yeah, nope, that's a good one to bring up for sure. Okay, number 6, review utility updates and equipment, maintenance updates. Anybody got anything with that? Anything new?
Is it your birthday today, Ray?
rather be on his birthday?
You gotta love the dedication there, right?
That's all right, you guys are buying afterwards.
Yeah, we got two other birthdays coming up in January, or Tim just had his on the 7th, and Chad's birthday's on the 27th. And West Oakie will have 1 year of employment on January 5th. Yes.
It's nice to see those, that's awesome.
Yeah, yeah, that was Cheryl's idea,
Yeah.
so it was.
We're just trying to push it.
I mean, that'd be nice for you to see.
Well, you're lucky you can see it.
Yeah. Just the fact that you're adding up.
Yeah, there was some other updates for the sewer department and the water department that, nothing really maintenance wise, but I try to add those in your packet every meeting, so don't forget to tell you anything what's
Yeah,
happening
those are
out there.
great.
Don't, I like to enjoy them too.
Yeah. Yep, those are good.
A couple other things on, if I can.
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
Speaking of DOT, I heard that North Main, so the road going north out of town, is supposed to be done spring of '25. So I don't know what that'll do for cost to us, you know, that
Depends
comes in
on
town, so.
what we want done.
Yeah, I mean, I still can't believe how that's held up. I mean,
It's holding up really good.
my God, it's great for what it was, you know, but so we need to probably talk to the county on stuff like that too, because it is happening in spring '25,
Okay, that's good to know.
yeah.
But isn't that our part of it, figure though, that would,
Well, are we happy with what we've done, or do we wanna, you know, I don't know, it still looks good, but it's, you know, it's just a patch, cause we just went over top of everything that was broken up, and it's holding wonderful, but, so I don't know, if we wanna consider that our part done, or, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah,
The longevity of it's not there, but it's surprised the shit out of us already, so.
right, right. Well, it's a good thing to know, so we can talk about it.
Yeah, so we need to think about that coming up too, you know, what the county's expectations are too, maybe the county's gonna say that we have to do more on, I don't know.
Right.
So we need to find that out.
Yep.
But the speed sign down, have you heard anything from, guys on inspections on the backhoe and, loader tractor from Kunos? They got, the inspections been done?
finally got in today.
Okay,
And I think he called for Eric to go down there, but when Eric went there, the guy was gone for the day,
okay.
so probably tomorrow.
I know they were working on it, it's tough. Now that the crop season's done and stuff, it's probably a lot easier to get in, but.
Right.
So, working on that. And then, have we heard anything back from Jackie's Ice Cream on that assistant program? Did we get that money back on that?
We have not yet.
Okay, that's still in process? Okay. Did I hear it got sold? Awesome.
She's requested other, copies of grants that were given out, you know, just, and pretty much like we said, it's on a case-by-case basis up to, you know, the committee and council's discretion how they want to handle it. Because nobody really else had to have a contract, you know, for repayment, but this was a situation where, you know,
I think it was a lot more equipment that was
Yeah,
bought and
it
stuff.
was outside.
And I
the-
think in that case, you know, with benefit of hindsight, if it's something that's not a facade improvement, I think,
Or
to me, that
can't
seems
take
warranted to get some sort of commitment then at that point.
Sure.
So we have not got to take that back.
Okay. Okay, do we have anything else? Okay, Chad, you got anything, or it's good? Okay. All right, Ray, you got anything more? Okay, just ready to get out of here. All right, we can touch me. Okay,